All right. Hello, everybody. Hope you can hear me okay. Let's get a little stability going here. I may actually may make you wait just one more minute. I think it would be better if I get a higher angle and you can see my face a little bit better. Let's keep you waiting. I run a high dollar operation, so we're going to use this shoebox to put you at my eye level. Well, you don't get to see my beautiful double chin quite as well. Hi! What a day, guys. It's been really interesting today. I started off with way too much coffee. I was filming a coming video where I do a cupping of a lot of really great coffee, truly. Some of the most expensive coffee in the world. So keep an eye out for that. That's a fun video. But tonight, I am going to be doing a nice little tasting. It's based on something that some of you have probably seen, maybe most of you have seen, in fact, on the bourbon subreddit. Somebody posted the only 5 whiskeys you need to open at any one time. And they basically made a list of a daily drinker, a bottle to impress your guests, a cheap mixer, something great, and a special occasion bottle. Just off camera, I've got 5 bottles, maybe a couple more. And we're going to talk about them. You know, I didn't want this to be something that was done to death. I know people have done videos on this before. But part of why I'm doing it in the live stream format is, number one, for commentary. If people want to say I was a terrible pick, they can say it. If people want to say, what about this? What about that? Why didn't you choose this over that? I think it's valuable to be able to have a back and forth on something like this, which is why it was so, explosive in Reddit. It was because that's what that format allows. And the whiskey YouTube community that I've seen do this, they've made good videos, but there hasn't been as much back and forth as I think needs to occur. So, stay lively in the chat, guys, because I really want to hear what you have to say about these picks, good, bad, or indifferent. But yeah, so the dog that I co-own with my partner Yolanda ran away tonight. Don't worry, we got her back. But yeah, Yolanda said little jerk. She was gone for enough time that it was very, very concerning and bothersome and, yeah, unpleasant. But we got her back, and then I made a bunch of spaghetti and wolfed it down and lost track of time and barely made it in time for the live stream. It's been a day. But I got my handy-dandy water. Always important. Stay hydrated out there. Let's go ahead and dive into this list. Number one, the first bottle that they talk about was your go-to daily drinker. I wanted to try to pick something other than what I picked, because I picked something that's really just too obvious. But I had to be honest with myself. Like, if I'm going to grab any bottle off the shelf, if I can only grab one bottle and it's not a special occasion and I'm not trying to light money on fire and I'm not feeling, cheap, or I'm not mixing, or just standard daily drinker, I had to go Buffalo Trace. Buffalo Trace, although technically allocated, yep, everybody said Buffalo Trace. You're all right. It had to be Buffalo Trace. It's technically allocated, but it's not that hard to find. It just really hits all the right notes on the palate for me. It really does. I think a lot of people would have said something like maybe Makers or Makers 46. I've heard people talk about Woodford Reserve, very classic bourbon profile, good stuff. But something about the Buffalo Trace profile just really hits a perfect note for me. It gets everything right. So one of the other things I should mention, one of the things I really like about Buffalo Trace that you don't get in this price point with your makers, and really, you can get it with the Woodford, but I never found one I really thought was exceptional. At least not a standard pick. I've seen some of their variant picks. Same thing with makers. I mean, you can get the varietal pick. You can get the makers private select, but that's $65, $75. With a Buffalo Trace store pick, it's what, 30, 35, maybe less. And then with Woodford, they have the double oak picks I've had that are quite good, but I've never had a Woodford pick that I was like, whoa, this blew me away. Uncle Dave, Old Forester 100 for me. That's a very good choice. I would say I was honestly thinking about Old Forester, but I didn't include it because I don't currently have a bottle of Old Forester 100. And that tells me that it's not my daily drinker, even though I really like it. And I think that's a good choice. And it's something I would have considered strongly choosing. It's obviously not true for me. Otherwise, I'd have it on hand. So anyway, let's go ahead and pour. Let's go ahead and pour this store pick. This is the Rural Inn store pick from 1/30/2020. Rural Inn's a local liquor store here in Indianapolis. I like a lot of their picks. If you're ever in town, go say hi to Ray or Vincent. I'm not sure if he says Vince or Vincent. I always call him Vince, but maybe he doesn't like that. I should probably ask him. I see him enough. What's up, Nate? Oh, by the way, for a long time, I've been using this bourbon wheel. And it's still out there. And it's still a good bourbon wheel. But I realized that my notes were getting stale because I was leaning too hard on the bourbon wheel. So I'm changing a couple things about how I do this. Number one, I'm mixing it up. I got a couple of different wheels I can use, and I'm going to mix which one I use up. This is the American Bourbon Association wheel. It's got some different notes. It's also bigger print, which is really nice. And then I've also got one from Modern Thirst. Nice bourbon wheel there. And then I've got this nice little sheet. This is from Breaking Bourbon. I really like this. I think if I was going to log every bourbon in written form instead of in video form, this is what I would use, because this is just a great sheet. And when you print in color, you can also talk about color, which is something that I don't talk about very often, mainly because I'm quite colorblind. So all the paperwork aside, let's get into some tasting notes on Buffalo Trace. Trevor said, new daily drinker is Benchmark Single Barrel. Stuff's good, $22. I haven't had the single barrel, Trevor. I'll have to check that out. I've had the barrel strength, barrel proof, whatever they call it. I think it was 25 local, and that was worth $25 all damn day. Fantastic barrel proof. That's another thing I kind of thought about including a barrel proof whiskey for this, even though it is, a daily drinker, but I like the versatility of barrel strength. I am not at all ashamed or afraid to, I'm just moving things around, don't mind me. I'm not at all ashamed or afraid to, take a barrel strength whiskey and water it down for the circumstances, put ice in it, do whatever I want to change it for the situation. And I often go for barrel strength whiskey before I go for Buffalo Trace, even though I really like Buffalo Trace. I mean, it's not 40%, it is 45%. So it's meaningfully stronger. Not 50, like some of the bottled and bond stuff, but it just really hits all the right notes. Now this store pick, I really like the nose on this. Right off the bat, this is, Buffalo Trace is always kind of sweet, but this is sort of sharply sweet in a specific way. Maybe like honey. It's sharper than honey though. It's almost like corn syrup, fake honey. Oh, if you ever had chicken at Popeyes they have a honey spread that is for the biscuits. That's about half honey and half corn syrup. That's what this smells like. There's definitely a cinnamon quality to it as well, which I really enjoy. Cinnamon, clove. Yeah. The beer is starting to come back in. I can see myself on the camera, and we're getting closer to the length I had originally meant to trim it down to. I knew I was going to make a drastic change, but I did not intend for it to be as drastic as it ended up being. A bit of mint on this as well, like that. The fruit on this, though, is really good. I mean, Buffalo Trace, one of the things I've noticed about Buffalo Trace, too, that also makes it a really good daily drinker is I've seen humongous variances in store picks. Some of the whiskeys out there, the store, like, let's stay in the Buffalo Trace family, Blanton's. I've not had a Blanton store pick that I felt like was wildly off profile. I really haven't. Good question, Nate. Have you had any bad Buffalo Trace store picks? I've had bad Eagle Rare store picks. I've had, I think, so a lot of, I won't say bad. I've had several store picks from Buffalo Trace that were not as enjoyable as the standard pour. I wouldn't call them bad, though. Yeah. Nate said, I guess in relation to normal, is it bad? Like you were before the normal? Yes. I've had of almost every variety. I've had a couple of Buffalo Trace store picks that I preferred the normal one over the store pick. And usually that was a situation where the palate of the person picking or the choice of what they were trying to do with the pick didn't align with my palate. Because the standard Buffalo Trace aligns so well with my palate, that going off profile can take you away from what I enjoy. And that's happened a couple of times. Typically, people are trying to get something way oakier out of a Buffalo Trace pick. When they do something like that, I tend to not care for it as much. That just doesn't fit with the theme of the Buffalo Trace profile to me, personally. The mint's getting stronger as I let this sit open here. But I want to get some of that fruit note because there's definitely a strong fruit quality to this Buffalo Trace. I'm trying to figure out what it is. Oh, it's got a fig quality. I can smell figs. Figs, apples, peaches. Uh-oh. Almost had a sneeze right off the bat. It was close. All right, let's go ahead and give this a taste. See, now this is woodier than standard, but not in a bad way. Mid palate is very nutty. You get almonds and walnuts, and then it kind of turns into this dry, like I would say mid-dry. It's not astringent, sharp dryness. It's mildly dry oak, like untreated, fresh cut oak. It's kind of fun, and it lingers for a while in the finish, with a little bit of cinnamon, raw cinnamon. You can actually taste the corn a little bit more in this one than your standard Buffalo Trace. This is a good example of a pick I think is sort of neck and neck. This pick I don't think is better or worse. Again, just me personally, my preference, I don't think this is better or worse than a standard Buffalo Trace. It's just doing something very different. This is a totally different profile in my mind. It's less sweet. It's oakier. It's got a little bit of it's got the fruitiness on the nose of a standard Buffalo Trace, but not on the palate at all. The honey's toned down. It's got more of a corn sweetness than a honey sweetness, or the vanilla's gone, just gone. You get a little butterscotch, just a hint of butterscotch. It's a good pour. Nate asked, is my girl Yolanda watching? Truth be told, I don't know. I don't think so. She's running around dealing with plants. We've got a lot of plants, maybe a couple hundred plants in this house. It's getting crazy. Yeah, it's kind of getting out of control. I'm shiny. I need to powder my face before I do these things with these. I got the big studio lights up. Big studio lights. And I need to powder my face before I do that next time. Because I can see all that shine. Not my best look. Well, Nate, Nate asked if she's trying to keep up with my bottle collections. We have sort of an unwritten agreement that I don't count her plants. She doesn't count my bottles. I'm having a harder time keeping up with that than she is. Because the plants are more intrusive. Like all my bottles are in like one spot or one other spot. There's two spots and they're tucked away and they're very compact, minimal, not in your way. If I turn this laptop, there's plants right here, right there, right off camera. There's plants right over there, right off camera, at least 25. There's 2 or 3 right there. There's 2 right over there. And then our living room is literally entirely full of them. Our kitchen counters are starting to get invaded. There's plants in every room in this house. Plants provide just oxygen. Yeah. Go write me a poem, Nate. All right. See, Nate, I'm conserving the earth by rinsing out my glass and reusing it instead of getting another glass. Uncle Dave says, you just can't put plants in a closet. Au contraire, ask anyone that's ever grown weed. There are plants in closets all over America.
Someone's asking about my plants.
Oh, it may have come up once or twice in the live stream. Yolanda's obviously right there next to her 2 plants. 3 plants. I miscounted. There you go.
Proof that plants exist.
Yeah, proof that plants exist. So to answer your question earlier, Nate, she's not watching.
Not yet,
Nate said that plant was an upgrade. Oh. Nate, if you didn't send me so much tasty whiskey.
Finally, something you and I can agree on, Nate.
I hope you could hear her. I'm not repeating it. Let's go to number 2. Ah, I spilled all over my tasting notes. Number 2, impress your guests. Now, the Redditor who put this up, oh, by the way, I should say this was posted on Reddit 13 days ago. I'm not going to take credit for this idea of the only 5 bottles you need. 13 days ago on the subreddit Bourbon. And the poster, the name is really something else. Rad Aghast the Nut Brown. I don't know what that's a reference to. I don't know what that means, but Radagast the Nut Brown is the name. Number 2, impress your friends. Now, I sort of debated about how to go with this because I really wanted my list to not be dominated by the big 3 or the big 4 or the big 5 or however many big freaking distilleries there are. There's a bunch of big boys out there that make the huge, massive, majority of the whiskey around. And I think the easiest and most obvious choice is, once again, from Buffalo Trace. It's any, and I picked a couple different bottles. I'll show you why. It's any allocated bottles that are not Blanton's. It's just an easy, not very complicated, not very nuanced approach. That's the impress your guests for dummies. Is, oh, I got the Blanton's, or the reason I said not Blanton's also, I'll get into it in a second, but oh, I got that Weller Full Proof. It's a store pick. Oh, I got that Stag Junior. Trevor's already asking about George T. Stagg. I'll talk about that in just a second, Trevor. I got that E.H. Taylor single barrel or rye or small batch or whatever. That's fine. I don't like that. I don't like that as an option because is it impressive? I mean, yeah, sure, maybe, kind of. Depends on who your guests are. I think for a large portion of whiskey drinkers, this will be impressive. But I wanted to say, like, what's a bottle that will impress even jaded whiskey drinkers who are like, very good question, Uncle Dave. Also a very good question. I think these bottles will impress your average whiskey drinker. I don't think they'll impress the, jaded whiskey drinker. And I also think, as Uncle Dave mentions, those might not impress your drinking friends. If you have friends that drink, but they're not big whiskey heads and they're not up to speed on the allocations or Buffalo Trace, they're not going to give a shit. Like, why would they care about these allocated items? I mean, some people would say you could go Blanton's with them because it's pretty, because it's a pretty bottle, it's round, it's interesting shaped, it's got the horsey, it's got a catch 'em all element. I get it. I'm getting commentary from the peanut gallery. I can hear out of my corner of my ear. If you want to comment, baby, you can join the stream and just put it in the chat. But I decided to go with this. Now, it doesn't have to be Old 55.
I asked him if he was 5 because he called it a horsey.
Stag Junior bottles are cool, Trevor. I agree with you. Nate just asked if I just tatered hard for my letter O. I did. Yes, I tatered hard. I was almost at a point where I was like, just let me get this over with. I want to get all the letters. I'll play the guy to catch them all, and then I can drink them and get on with my collecting life. It just seemed like a rite of passage that I wanted to complete. But that's for me, Nate. That's for me, not for my guests. And Trevor, you're right. I think like the tube is cool. I think that these are fun bottles. There's a lot of fun bottles. But I do think that a bottle that has a story behind it is the best bottle. Now, this bottle, the Old 55 bottle, some of you have this, some of you saw this. So people of you that have these or are yet to get them, don't touch the marker because it smears.
Are your hands wet with alcohol?
My hands are wet with me. I don't know what my sweat's made of these days.
Probably alcohol.
So yeah. Anyway, so pick a bottle of the story. This was the barrel that I went and helped pick. Indiana Bourbon on Instagram ran a contest that I won, so I was able to go pick the barrel with them. I bought a case of it and sold it to patrons. So that was fun. I'm glad you liked the quote, Nate. But yeah, a bottle with a story to me is worth 1,000 times more than just the Colonel E.H. Taylor you pulled off the shelf or the Stag Junior or whatever. You know, those are good bottles. Don't get me wrong. And I think those bottles could be a bottle with a story. You know, if so, the first raffle bottle I think I ever won was I got distracted by the chat. Yeah, it will impress. Yeah, I mean, the first bottle that I ever won in a raffle was a Stag Junior. And you know, that wasn't a big take home of the day, but like that meant something to me. And so, like, you know, something that's an allocated bottle from Buffalo Trace could absolutely be a bottle with a story. Before I went on a store pick, I think that's a really cool story to have. It's like, oh yeah, this was the first bottle I ever won in a raffle. It's meaningful. And to me, like, that's a good thing to point out to your friends. Like, that's impressing your friends if that's important to you, in terms of just possessions, then sure, Buffalo Trace allocated, not Blanton's. It's a good choice. But if what's important is impressing your friends, that you really enjoy the hobby, what are you impressing them with? Are you impressing them with material, or are you impressing them with a sense of something about you? Maybe that's too deep. Maybe that's not deep enough. I don't know. Nate said, that's Woodford Double Oak for me. It's the first bourbon I ever had and what started me on the journey. Exactly. I love that, Nate. That's great. Woodford Double Oak is a good bourbon. It's, you know, it's not something somebody's going to scoff at. They're like, oh, yeah, that's good stuff. I'll take a glass of it. And it's going to be a great story. Meaning matters. What are you impressing them with? I want to impress upon them on the drink bra. Uh-oh. Why are my hands so wet? I can't open this fucking bottle.
Need help?
Oh, God.
You like help?
Nope, we're good. Guys, I'm only on my second pour, and I'm doing little pours. This is going to be a long night. Let me try not to smear my name off of this anymore. Running out of bottle space over here. Okay. Oh, you know what's funny? One of the generous fans up here, screen name Tattoo5, he tasted this whiskey of mine, and the first nose he got, he said, "Oh wow, it smells like a barn." And I kind of laughed, and then I smelled it, and I went, "Oh shit, I know what he's talking about." And then he kind of apologized, like, "I'm sorry, I know this was your pick. I didn't mean to like shit on it." And I went, "No, I know what you mean, and it's not bad. It's got this interesting, old aged. It puts you in a place. It's a little bit like it kind of transports you in a way." And then after that, that's the first thing you get on the nose, and then after that goes away, you get this really wonderful vanilla and caramel. Obviously corn, because this is 80-20 corn to red winter wheat. I mean, I just recently did a review on this, so I won't dwell too long on the tasting notes for this particular pour, but it's got a story for damn sure. God, I love the mid palate on this. I think what really drew me into this pour was the mid palate. The nose is good. I don't think it was actually the best nose we smelled that day. The finish is good. It's not the best finish we had that day, but the start and the mid palate on this pour just gives me what I want from a whiskey. And at the end of the day, that's what mattered to me. And luckily, didn't take too much convincing for the rest of the group. Now, as you can see, I'm about a little under halfway done with this. It's definitely changed a little bit. It's opened up. I almost want to say it's gotten a little sharper, which is strange. You hear the rattling, the sound of tiny paws. That is the little bastard who ran away this evening. She's back.
To be fair, you are the one that found her.
I found her on the patio next door. She's able to climb stairs but cannot walk down them. Very good question, Nate. How the hell did she run away? Yolanda was deep in the plant world.
Yolanda came inside to talk to you. And she scooted through the garden.
I don't know if they can hear.
Probably not.
But you are welcome to join and chat. And type out your defense.
I came inside because Kyle had made dinner. She had scooted through the garden, under the tomato plants, through the fence, over to the neighbor's house.
Thing's about empty. It's hard for me to accept that, Dave. I know that's good advice. Just accept everything's always your fault, but I just can't do it. Just hard for me. That's a bottle kill. Little E.H. Taylor gone. I was probably like 3/4 of an ounce. I don't know why I put it back. Oh, actually I do. That's another story for another time, though. All right. Where am I at with this? Look at that color. Beautiful. Uh-oh. The glass is dirty. And whatever's in it looks kind of gross. Well, it's a bit of a... Yes, please. I think, has that old 55 gotten worse? Nate asked. I think I have to say yes. This bottle's been open for maybe a month, and it's down about half empty. Maybe longer. It's hard to keep track of time. I think it's gotten a little sharper. I get a little bit more grain in the mid palate, and then I get a lot more wood on the finish, which again, that's not a bad thing. It's just probably not my preference. And this was sort of my preferential bottle, but that's something you just can't adjust for. I think as soon as you open your bottle, that's what I remember tasting. When we first, I spoke with the guy who runs Indiana Bourbon right after we opened the bottles that we had gotten from the distillery and tasted them. And we both like, yes, that's exactly what we remember. It was exactly what we wanted. This isn't quite what I remember anymore, but I still think it's a good pour. What is this?
If you smell it, you'll know what it is.
Oh, God. That's a big pour, baby.
It'll be fine.
Uh-huh. Did you bring me another glass?
I did, but I forced you to have mine first.
How much do you think that is?
I don't know.
Take a guess.
Probably 2 ounces. Okay, 2.5.
Probably 2 ounces. Good guess.
Looks bigger in its.
There is your
my
syrup.
little cup.
Yolanda handed me this glass. See, I Drink and I Know Things Whiskey Group glass that she helped design. The dragon on the back. This is for the I Drink It, I Know Things Whiskey Group on Facebook and on Instagram, and they have a website now, I Drink It, I Know Things whiskygroup.com. Check it out. Buy this glass. I've got more of these glasses if you join and you find it intriguing and engaging. Let's go on to number 3. Unfortunately, Nate, that won't be your last. Sometimes whiskeys just do get weird or unpleasant with time. Again, I will say I don't think the Old 55 got bad. I think it just changed in a way that wasn't my preference. So I have had some whiskeys get legitimately bad. I've had some open up and got very different in ways I liked and very different in ways I didn't care for, in ways I did not like at all, in ways I liked in a different way. It's amazing how much whiskeys can change over time. So what I'm saying is, shut up and drink it. Okay. The third category, which I actually think is my favorite category. This chair is not comfortable. I need to get a better chair. Fuck this chair. I think this is my favorite category because the instinct behind it is so antithetical to my own. It's the cheap mixer category. These are whiskeys for your guests you know won't appreciate your good stuff, but you want to give them something to drink and or a cheap thing that you can mix and not feel guilty about. So I have a couple problems with that as a category. Number one, I like using mixers that are high proof. I think if you're going to mix, you need the proof to stand up to the other things that are in the pour. That's the value of high proof. Yeah, everyday drinker is kind of a cheap mixer in a lot of ways. I agree, Uncle Dave. And so I had to think about, like, how did I take the everyday mixer, or how did I take the cheap mixer and take a spin on it that I appreciated? Yeah, the OF 100 is a good example because it's high proof enough to blend. The OGD, I actually prefer the OGD 114 as a choice because it's not particularly cheap, but it's really high proof. It's a good mixing whiskey. It can do a lot. I ended up thinking about 2 different categories. First one I said was, what's the cheap whiskey that I enjoy that I'm willing to give to anybody, because even if they can't appreciate it, it's cheap enough it doesn't bother me, but I still enjoy it and would give it to anybody. And then I went another way and said, what's the mixer that I would put out there that's cheap enough that I can mix it with impunity, but that's good enough that I don't feel like I'm using some, rot gut to mix with. So I have 2 options. First one, Evan Williams Bottled and Bond, 100 proof, $14-ish. Second option, Mellow Corn Bottled and Bond, again, 14-ish. It was $10 when I did my review. Now it's kicked up to 15, but still a good cheap option. Both of those are fantastic. Cheap. I'm gonna get a little bit of smell of corn. Smells like corn. Give me that proletariat whiskey. I love a screw top on a $14 bottle of whiskey. I don't love a screw top on a $30 bottle of whiskey. Called out, Maker's Mark. Smells like corn. Tastes like corn. D Brown, OF Rye. I can see that. I think that's a very good point that D Brown makes. Ryes. There's a lot of value in using ryes as a mixer. One of the reasons I like making rye Manhattans is that the rye sticks out. it adds something by being there and prominent and present. So I think rye is a really good option. I think Wild Turkey 101 rye is really, really good in cocktails. It's a great mixer, but it's not particularly cheap in my area compared to Wild Turkey 101 Standard. Wild Turkey 101 Standard could fit in that category too. Wild Turkey 101 Standard to me is a lot like Uncle Dave's OF 100. It can fit both daily drinker and cheap mixer categories. Here we go, Nate. Let's stir the pot. I've actually been using Henry McKenna 10-year bottled and bond as a mixture. I just don't love it neat, but it makes a really quality mixed drink like an old fashioned. I respect that. I respect that. All right. Now, another thing I was thinking about throughout this process was I don't love how many big distillers I got on this list. I talked about that before with the Old 55. I'm going to whip out something you definitely don't expect to fit in this category. And again, it doesn't really fit in this category as being cheap in the sense of like low quality, which is like I get this vibe from the way it was written that that's what they're thinking of. This is a great mixing whiskey. That's what I was looking for. Starlight Distillery Single Barrel Bourbon. If you haven't had Starlight, coming out of Indiana, coming out of where in Indiana is this? I don't even freaking know. Borden. We passed it yesterday on the drive home. Borden, Indiana. This is at 111.6 proof. This particular barrel was 2 years, 3 months, but they have older stuff coming out now. That Carl T. Huber is Starlight label. I think Carl T. Huber is a really good example of stuff. Like some of that is coming in between $30 and $40. So it's not crazy expensive. Calling it cheap, maybe. This bottle was $30 and it's a store pick. So this fits the cheap in my mind for sure. This is daily drinker territory. But I love that it's high proof. I like using younger stuff in cocktails as a mixer because some of the youth stands out. You get some of that brightness, especially in whiskey cocktails like a whiskey sour where the brightness can pair with the citrus notes really well. Or even a Manhattan where you're going to have some of the rich, deep vermouth and have something kind of clash in a fun way with it. So, yeah. Now, this bottle's been open for quite some time. So it's very quiet on the nose. But it reminds me a lot of the Old 55, except it's more citrusy. I think the Old 55 has the corn. It's got the sort of earthy notes. And it comes in with some caramel sweetness as well. To me, the Starlight is a little bit more medicinal. It's a little bit more sharp, bright, citrus. It's got a sort of a cherry cough syrup vibe as well. Boy, that tastes like Robitussin. That tastes exactly like Robitussin. That's funny to me. I don't know why I like that. I don't know why I like Robitussin, but yeah. I've done videos before on bottles I was given for free. This bottle I was given for free. I had bought a bottle from, this is again, Rural Inn, shout out Vincent Ray. This bottle, I had one that I was drinking in a live video chat with some friends. And somebody, who was it? Oh, it was Cody Flynn, the guy I met up with today. He saw I was drinking. We were just asked about what they were drinking, and I pulled this out, and he said, "Oh man, is that this? That's terrible." I said, "Terrible? I like this stuff." He brought it out. We compared it. It was the same batch. It was the same bottle, the same barrel number. So we did a tasting, and I still liked it. He still hated it. He said, "I'll tell you what. You come down here, I'll give it to you for free." And I went and got it. Robitussin. What's going on in this chat here? New Riff Single Barrel makes an absolutely fantastic whiskey sour. That sounds like it would, Uncle Dave. I really like. That's right. Great, more bottles to buy. Yeah, the single barrel rye, as Nate pointed out, would make a great old fashioned for sure. You know, I'm really torn about not including New Riff at any point thus far. I guess I'll go ahead and spoil it. The next category is something great, and I did not include the New Riff single barrel selections in there. I seriously considered it, but part of why I didn't consider it, or I didn't do it rather, was the description of what is supposed to be in that category. The sort of sub, notes on something great was your Friday night bourbon. And as tasty as I find the New Riff picks, they've always kind of just felt like Tuesday after work bourbon for me. And I think that's an incredibly good thing. Like, let's not discount the fact that they're making wonderful bourbon at $50 a bottle-ish, and wonderful ryes, and they're doing cool stuff with like Backsetter. They're doing a lot of great stuff. But they just don't fit well into this list. They were a little high on my price point for daily drinker. And I think that's where I probably would have put them otherwise. So to me, they kind of fit between a couple categories. They fit between daily drinker and something great, and maybe even in between impress your guests too. Because if you want to impress somebody that likes whiskey but doesn't know about whiskey, and you're trying to expand somebody's mind or palate, it's a really good choice. You'd be like, look at this. This is a young 4-year product coming out of a new up-and-coming distillery, relatively speaking, and they're making great stuff. Yes, absolutely. I totally agree, Uncle Dave. I look forward very much to seeing what New Riff does with some older stock. Because I love what they're doing, but man, if you get 6 years even on one of those barrels, I bet it's going to be gorgeous. Got the paparazzi in here taking photographs.
Not of you.
Sassy Sally over here.
You love me.
Anyway, she doesn't want to be on camera, but she still wants to talk to me. Go get on the chat.
Why would I want to look at your face when I can see it right here?
No, you don't look at my face. You can just listen to my sultry, smooth voice. It's better through headphones. You get that sonic, the stereo.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Better than live?
Yeah, it is. It's the studio version. Nate said I look better on a camera. I forgot to cut my hair today for my video.
You did, and I bet it's still sitting on the charger.
Why didn't you take it off the charger? Yeah, help me with my wet hands, baby. Come here. Let me wipe this on you. Let me give you a high five. They're not wet anymore. Sad. I would have really liked to smear my wet hands all over you. It's not a gross sex thing. Get your mind out of the gutter.
I don't think that's appropriate for the
Get your mind out of the gutter. That's not a sex thing. Is it? No. Okay, it's not a sex thing. Falling off the rails already. Okay, let's go to number 4. Something great. Tell me what your something great is.
Your face.
What's your something great? Put it in the chat. The subcategory again for something great was your Friday night bourbon. Nate, Bardstown Discovery Series number 2. That is a very good choice, my man. Uncle Dave, Elijah Craig Barrel Proof. What else we got out there? Come on. Come on. I know there's other people out there. I know we got Trevor in here somewhere. D. Brown made a comment earlier about the rye. Let's see him. Don't be afraid. Don't be scared. Josh showed up. First thing he saw was a head slap. D. Brown said ECBP as well. Josh, what's your something great? Let me know. Oh, Knob Creek 120, Trevor. That's a good choice. That was a close one for me. I really thought about putting that up here for contention, but I ended up not doing it. I think, I had my mind kind of swayed a little bit about Elijah Craig, or I'm sorry, not Elijah Craig, about Josh, we're at the Something Great, your Friday night bourbon. That's the category we're looking at too now. Oh man, Mike's here. Damn it. He's talking about that Sam Houston 14, the first $100+ bourbon actually worth it. Mike and I split a bottle of the Sam Houston 14. I think I'm gonna have to have a pour of that. But before I do, I want to say, Trevor, the Knob Creek 120 I think was really close for me. I think I ended up not going with it because there's a lot of variance in some of the Knob Creek picks, and typically that's what I'm drinking is the Knob Creek picks. That's maybe that's too easy. John Sego, E.H. Taylor Barrel Proof. That is something great. That is a Friday night bourbon for sure. I've unfortunately never found a bottle of E.H. Taylor Barrel Proof, and I'm just not willing to pay secondary for it. I think if I found E.H. Taylor Barrel Proof, though, that would very likely fit into this category because I've heard nothing but good things about it. I've had a couple of them and thought they were really good. They definitely were something great. This is the right place for those for sure. So, not to drag it on too much longer, I put in Elijah Craig Barrel Proof as one of them. Part of my logic on a lot of these picks was, what do I have a bunch of and why? And this is one of them. I've got a bunch of Elijah Craig Barrel Proofs. I've got a whole bunch of different batches. I love trying new ones. I keep finding new things I like about them. It just makes sense. It just fits the category well for me. And that's my Friday. Like if I'm having a reason to have something good, that's what I go to. Elijah Craig Barrel Proof. I would go E.H. Taylor Barrel Proof if I could find it, John. The other one, I picked two because I've been really, really lying about this pick 5 scheme. It kind of fell apart on this one, honestly. I could not pick one in this category. But Booker's. I mean, I really like Booker's. It's always a go-to for me. It just keeps showing up. I can't stop buying it. It's just really good. And I keep saying E.H. Taylor now. John's got me on that E.H. Taylor. You got me thinking, man. The Elijah Craig Barrel Proof and the Booker's are both, under $100, between $50 and $100. And they're both barrel proof, which I like for my, Friday night bourbons. Want a little bit more kick. D. Brown, A120 over B520? Probably would. The bottle I've pulled here is too shiny. Damn it. There. There it is, B520. But I would probably personally prefer A120 over B520. To be frank, neither of those two have been my favorites. The 2020 versions have been missing something for me personally. I really like the B519. I really like the C919. The A119 got a lot of accolades, but for me, it was sort of middle of the road when I did them blind. I just today picked up a C917, which I look forward to doing in the near future. I think what I will probably do is open that bottle up when I get the C920, this year's fall release, and then do the 7, 8, 9, and 10, do 4 years of Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, all of the C's. I think that could be fun. Yeah. John said he got lucky in the lottery last year at retail. It's hard to beat. What's the retail on that, John? I don't honestly remember. I've seen it so many varying prices. I'd love to know what the retail is on E.H. Taylor Barrel Proof, because I got a number in my head that would say it's worth it. Yeah, thanks, D. Brown. I appreciate it. Mike said his daily drinkers, early times bottled and bond, mix 1-1 with Old Forester rye. I love that, Mike. That's a freaking great idea. I've never tried that. I don't have any OF rye, but I've got the early times. I may have to, experiment with that at some point. John said 129 out the door. That's a good price. All right, I'm gonna grab that Sam Houston. You stay put. We're not gonna go anywhere. Yeah, I do need to get OF rye deeper, and you're right. Trevor said the only reason he didn't mix a cigar blend is because what do you have the most of? I have a ton of Knob Creek 120s. I have a ton of Knob Creek 120s too, which is part of why it was a close in the running. But I've recently found a lot more variance in them, and not in a good way, to be honest. And like all three of the ones I've picked have had a lot of variance, and not always in my favorite ways. But I just felt like the Knob Creek 120s, I don't know, I just had a hard time with them. Let's dig into the Sam Houston. Now, this bottle is 14 years old, Kentucky straight bourbon. It's at 98 proof, 49%. It looks real fancy. Here we go. It's Kentucky bourbon. Mash bill is 74% corn, 18% rye, 8% barley. Number 4 char. It's a 3-barrel batch blend, and it's distilled and aged in Bardstown. Now, this is source whiskey. Sam Houston is sourcing it for Western Spirits in Bowling Green from Bardstown. Not that many distillers in Bardstown sourcing 14-year-old whiskey. My smart money is on Heaven Hill. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Trevor said heard it 1792. You're right. It smells like Barton. You are right, my friend. Which honestly gives me pause, because Barton is not my favorite distillery. But I'm in this bottle. We're going to try this bottle. Reminds me a lot of that foolproof store pick I've got. But it's older. It's definitely Barton juice. You can just tell. It's got that classic Barton profile. A little bit of leather, a little bit of banana. There's some tobacco, there's some cinnamon, there's some coffee. A lot of mint as it opens up. Get some clove. Ooh, I get like Thin Mints, Girl Scout cookies. Starting to get a little herbal. This is the first time I've opened this bottle. Obviously, it was opened before. Shout out, Mike, for separating it out and for giving me the bottle. Appreciate you. A couple other shout outs I should do. Big shout out, Mike, for the delicious coffees that I recently did a cupping of today. That awesome video will come out in the near future. I mentioned at the top of the hour, so I thought I'd mention it again before we get to the full next hour in 10 seconds. And also, big shout out to who else do I need to shout out? I had somebody else.
Oreo.
Big shout out to Oreo. My doggo is back home safe. Big shout out to Uncle Dave joining the Patreon. Appreciate you, brother.
What? No shout out to me?
Big shout out to Yolanda, my girlfriend and my partner and my muse.
I know you're drunk now.
She is the je ne sais quoi to my omelette du français. Omelette du fromage. Parlez-vous français? Non. Okay.
You know what you just said?
Yes, I do. I actually speak a lick of French, but just a lick. Oh, God, yes. Little Book 3. Honestly, Nate, Little Book 3 might be into the last category. Tasty stuff. We're at an hour and 1 minute. Hot damn. Welcome to hour 2, ladies and gentlemen. This is the hour when things get all freaky.
You already said you wanted to wipe me down with your hand.
I hope they can hear what you're saying. I don't know if they can.
Probably not, but I have some. I should just go sit in there. I'm not going to be on camera, but I'll sit in here with you.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Let's reorganize here for a second. Trevor said they can hear you.
Oh, so they did hear my commentary about you wanting to wet me down with your hand in the first hour.
Oh, that's wild. Sam Houston 14. It's like sweet mint. And then it's super woody. Trevor, you need your hands on this. Brother, I got you. Trevor's got some samples coming my way, so we can talk about that. But this is 100% up Trevor's alley. Nice big woodiness, hints of mintiness in the mid palate. Super herbal and aromatic. The woodiness is strong but not overpowering. Boy, I am shocked that that's only 98 proof. You would never in a million years guess that was 98 proof. Oh, that'd be great, Nate. If you can pull that off, I would love that. Yeah, if one of you can help me out with the Little Book 3, I'd love to do a 3 versus 4. That Little Book 3 just was, it was on my love list. Okay, I was writing letters to it. Whispering at sweet nothings. Making Yolanda super jealous.
I'm supposed to be jealous of you, Nate. Who am I supposed to be jealous of?
Me and the Little Book Chapter 3.
I think I have a few things over the bottle of whiskey.
You do.
So I'm not going to be jealous.
Oh, yeah. The Jack Daniel's single barrel proof D Brown has some serious heavy hitters. That would fit into the damn good category, the something great or whatever it's called. That would fit into that category squarely. I've got one that's sitting around 67% that I need to open up. It's tasty, tasty, tasty. You know, I don't usually love minty or herbal whiskeys. That Sam Houston 14 is doing something good. You get that banana on the nose, it does not come through on the palate. It's a good pour. We've got a little bit of time. So I'm going to go ahead and revisit the Booker's 2020-02, the Boston batch. Now, Nate told me to make sure I bought Granny's batch, 2020-01. And he told me it was this big peanut bomb. And I was like, oh, wow, hell yeah, I'm all about that. And I bought it, and I loved it. Mike Seconds, Jack Daniel's single barrel proof. It's freaking good. That's a solid choice. It would be up here if I had one open, honestly. I really think it would be. But I don't have one open, so it's not my Friday night currently. I'll just let you take a look at that. Trev was asking about this. I guess it's Kentucky. It says batch number KY01. So maybe that means it's Kentucky. Okay. Let's go ahead. Oh, I didn't finish my story. So I trusted Nate on the Granny's.
You should never trust Nate.
I trusted Nate on the Granny's batch, and it paid off. It was fantastic. Matter of fact, it was so fantastic that one of my buddies around here at Heavy Bourbon, Dan Kidd, 2 O'Clock Chug King, he had never had Booker's before. I gave it to him, and he freaking loved it. He said, oh, shit, I'm getting these Booker's. So back to Nate. Nate messaged me and said, oh, man, the Boston batch is even better than Granny's batch. I said, well, hell, man. I love Granny's batch. If it's better than Granny's batch, I got to go get it. I went and got it. Paid too much for it, I should mention. And I was disappointed. Didn't care for it as much as Granny's batch. Now, that could have been the end of the story. But today, I saw at Heavy Bourbon, Dan Kidd, post about how he thought Boston batch was even better than Granny's batch. And I said, what the hell did I miss on this Boston batch? These people who I drink with, whose palates I know, they're picking it over Granny's. What am I missing? So let's find out together right now on the live stream. It's good water. Stay hydrated out there. Could be. Trevor smartly points out that I tried the neck pour. Nate said that words hurt.
Oh, you'll be okay.
Okay. Could you get me some more water?
That's why you wanted me in here.
Thank you, baby. All right. Oh, spilled a couple drops on my... This tasting wheel is taking a beating today. Booker's is $90 in Oregon now. They priced me out. Yeah, I feel that. I feel that, D. Brown. You know, when I was first getting these bottles, I was getting them at Kroger, little grocery store here in town, and they were selling them for... well, they also did a special if you bought 6 or more whiskeys, 6 or more bottles of liquor, you could get a discount. So I was getting bottles of Booker's for like $60, which, you know, they used to be, I believe, 50 way back when. Got bumped up to like 70 or 80, and then they got bumped up to 100, and then they kind of got bumped down to around 90. This bottle I bought at 90, and it's not worth 90. The Granny's batch I bought at 80, and it is worth 80. It's tough. It's tough. What's up, Michael McAllister? How you doing, Mike? A few friends got together last week and tried the entire Blanton's lineup, as well as several high-level bourbons, and Elmer T. Lee won the night, and I'm now a fan. Elmer T. Lee's good stuff. I think the problem people have with Elmer T. Lee is they got spoiled in the past. It's kind of what we're talking about with the Bookers. You know, Elmer T. Lee used to be $30, $40, and it was on the shelves. Now you can't find it anywhere. If you do find it in a raffle, it's going to be more than that, most likely. And if you find it secondary, it's going to be a couple $100. The whiskey boom hurt some brands more than others, and I think Elmer T. Lee took a real hit because it's become so much more inaccessible.
That was obnoxiously loud. Holy crap, have you really had all of that?
No, I haven't tried all of those. She's doubting me with her eyes. I've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tastes, all of them half pours. This is the biggest pour I've had yet. This is Booker's, and I've only got 1 more to go. Yeah, the price is not right, but the juice is great. Oh, I'm not going to doubt that at all, Mike. Michael is totally right. Oh yeah, the shocker. We also love Michter's American whiskey. Michter's American, that stands up, man. People love Michter's American. It gets high praises all the time. Yeah, I know. Trevor just missed out on these 4 bottles of Elmer Tillet for $35. That sucks, man. That sucks. Now, how do I feel about this compared to Granny's batch? Dram Band, thank you, man. Great name. How's it going, man? Nate wants me to do a side-by-side. I don't think it's going to happen tonight, my friend. I still feel like this needs more time to breathe. It's good. It's a little bit, the sweetness is a little more prominent. And the oak is a little more prominent than Granny's batch. But I still feel like it's missing something. I can't quite put my finger on it. I don't know. Hard to say. Kind of got water everywhere. That happens. No, you're right, Nate. It doesn't have the fruit I want. Yeah, Dram Bam, it's missing a $55 price tag. That also helps. But I will say, again, when I had the yeah, the finish is shorter than I want it to be. I would agree. It's not particularly short. It's just not going the directions I typically like. Yeah, it just might not be my jam. But to respond to Dram Bam, I will say, yeah, with the Booker's Granny's batch, I paid 80 for, and I was happy to pay 80 for it. It was good at 80. I wasn't happy to pay 80 for it, obviously, but it was good at 80. It needs to be rinsed again. I think that high proof stuff kind of sticks. Yeah, Nate loves the bready note. He's reminded of his childhood eating those freaking honey and peanut butter sandwiches.
Those were the best.
Yeah, Yolanda loved them too. You and Nate can just go talk about peanut butter sandwiches somewhere.
Pooh Bear sandwiches.
Pooh Bear sandwiches. Let's go ahead and get to the final category of the night. This is a big one. Your special occasion bottle. Now, I think there's one bottle that several of you are probably going to think I'm going to put in here that I won't. I think we know what Trevor's picking. I think, actually, I would guess Trevor's going to pick the E.H. Taylor Barrel Proof. Excuse me. Trevor loves the E.H. Taylor Barrel Proof. Someone else, though, put that in the Friday Night Bourbon category. Oh, that was, who was that, John? I think it was John. Got to scroll up in the chat. Yeah, John Sego, assuming he's still with us. I guess, yeah. I mean, Nate said Trevor is going ER17. He could absolutely go EcoRare 17. Yeah, Michael McAllister. You need to change that, my man. Mike, you got to get on the Booker's train. I would recommend getting Granny's Batch if you can find it. I have had really good success turning people on with Granny's Batch. I think the Boston Batch is good. It's fine, but there's sort of a universal appeal to the Granny's Batch. I haven't had anybody say anything bad about it. D. Brown says $80 is the most I've spent on a bottle, and it was underwhelming. What'd you spend $80 on, D. Brown? Yeah, Nate said GTS 2019. Yeah, Country Ham is another you could find. That's great. D. Brown says Stag Junior is a special occasion pour. It's a very solid special occasion pour, especially because it's become so difficult to find. It's never been particularly easy, but it's getting much harder. The batch 14, I still haven't found a bottle of. I've been looking pretty hard. So Stag Junior absolutely would fit well in this category. Yeah. So why is George T. Stagg 2019 not in this category for me? Here's why. Oh, D. Brown. I'll talk about that in a second, my man. All right. So I got a lot of activity in the chat, and I'll respond to all of it in a second. So George T. Stagg 2019 did not make my cut for the special occasion bottle because I have not been actually holding it for special occasions. I've been drinking it more frequently than that. And I think part of that is because it, again, I talked before about, what bottle was it? I talked before about a bottle that kind of, towed the line between a daily drinker. Oh, the New Riff. The New Riff, for me, single barrel picks, kind of towed the line between something great and a daily drinker. I feel like George T. Stagg 2019 toes the line between Impress Your Guests and Special Occasion bottle. It's a fantastic whiskey. I love it, but I have not been actually holding it for special occasions. I've been drinking it with some regularity. Not a lot of regularity, mind you, but if I have special guests over, I'll drink it. I'm not holding it for a baby or anything.
Don't hold your breath.
So, I'm going to give you a couple of bottles that I haven't opened, and I'm not opening tonight because it's not special enough. Sorry, guys. But then I will give you a bottle that I do have as a special occasion bottle that I will drink from because it is open. It does fit that moniker for me. Number one, Michter's 10-year bourbon. Now, this in particular is a 2019 bottling. The 2019 bottling, I've tried a couple of different places, at bars, at friends' houses, and every time I have absolutely loved it. I very recently got my hands on it for a good price, so I'm holding on to it. I'm going to open it for a special occasion, but it really just hits every note I want from a bourbon. It's just absolutely gorgeous, and it's so well balanced. That's something that a lot of really good, interesting pours don't do. Is they're very interesting, but they're not balanced. And this really hits that blend perfectly. Number two, Yellowstone 9-year 101, the 2019 edition yet again. Very similar story. I've tried it a couple of times. I absolutely loved it. It just hit all the right notes for me. I'm trying to make room for all these bottles. And I said, yeah, that's got to be the one. I mean, I've got to have a bottle of that. I found one. I paid too much for it, but I wanted it so bad. I needed to have it. So I bought it. It's just really something special. It really is. Like, Yellowstone is, I believe they're sourcing. I don't know where that particular pour was sourced, but God, it just hit everything I wanted from it. Yeah, the 2020 Yellowstone, I'd love to see what it is. Before I reveal the one I'm actually going to drink, I want to make sure I read through these comments, said something about them. Yeah, so D. Brown said his Stagg Junior was a special occasion bottle, which I already talked about, but then he said that the Four Roses was what he picked, what he paid $80 for, and regretted it. I'm not a big Four Roses fan. At least not the private selection single barrel strength Four Roses. There's so much money out there floating around in single barrel strength Four Roses, and the secondary market goes crazy for them. But I really don't think they're that good. Most of them. Now, some of them are really fantastic. Don't get me wrong, but that's like anything. The amount of variance, though, is really high for me. I've had a lot of single barrel strength Four Roses picks that were just okay. And if you're paying $80 for a whiskey, or if you're paying secondary pricing $150, $200, $250, $300, it better be phenomenal. And I've had very few of them that were phenomenal. Now, the limited edition releases are a different story. They have the Elliott Select, which is the same bottle as the Private Select, but it's obviously, designed by the distilleries. And they have the 2019 limited edition release, the 2020 limited edition release, et cetera, et cetera. They go back and forward, whatever. All of those are something else. That's a different category. But those are not $80 either. The 2020, I believe, is $150. And they're doing a lottery, which I think actually ends tomorrow or Tuesday to decide who gets to buy those. Also, heads up, the Old Forester birthday bourbons are being raffled off. Not raffled off. They're being sold off on Wednesday this week. Check your emails. Let's see. Nate said Trevor's going Eagle Rare 17. Trevor does go Eagle Rare 17. It's good. Not my favorite. Too woody for me. This got this astringent wood that I just can't get around. Mike's still waiting for my opportunity to open the William Leroy Weller. I don't know, man. Life's too short to keep bottles sealed. I mean, I say that pointing to two bottles that I still have kept sealed. So, who am I to judge? But I guess the situation is like, these are bottles that are, $130, $150 on paper. More if I tried to sell them, but on paper, $130 to $150. The William LaRue, that's like an $800, $900 bottle on paper. Like, that's some next level shit. That's a lot much harder for my wallet to go, this is an $800 or $900 special occasion. A $130 special occasion, birthday. Yeah, what the hell? So, yeah, Nate said his guess was the GTS 2019. Yep, talked about that. He said mine would be Yellowstone 2019 or Little Book 3. Man, the Little Book 3 would be up there too. That's so freaking good. If I had a bottle of it, I'd probably put it in that category. The Willet 25 year. I've only got, I believe, 2 ounces of a 25-year-old Willet rye. I will do a review of it at some point. The sister barrel to that bottle was being sold at the Willet Distillery very recently for $100 an ounce. It's too much, but it's unbelievably good. So I can't say I wouldn't pay that if I knew how good it was going there and I didn't have some at home. The 2019 LE, Four Roses LE, I assume Nate's talking about, was awesome. Absolutely, totally agree. It was awesome. Nate said, Trevor, the 2019 was amazing. If so, I want it. Referring to the 2020 limited edition being even better. Yeah. I need to watch more Fred Minnick. I respect the way he does things. He's very serious about his tastings, and he doesn't swallow the whiskey, which throws people off a lot. He does a lot of spitting, which, long story short, I may have to start doing in the near future as well, but we'll talk about that another time. Let's go ahead and break out the bottle that I actually do want to try and will try tonight. That is a special occasion bottle for me. You can see how little it is. You can't even see it. This is the Woodford Reserve Double Oak. So 375 bottled at 54.2% alcohol. It starts in standard new oak, finished in heavy toasted new oak. This bottle, now I haven't tasted this since I first opened it. I opened it, I poured a pour for myself, and then 2 1-ounce sample for people who've been very nice to me. Oh, man. I just opened the cork. It's so good. Oh my God. Okay. This is something special. Distillery only release. A couple of friends of mine went down there and they bought a whole case of them. And they sold them to us above cost. Not terribly above cost, but above cost. They made a healthy profit, and good for them. I couldn't get down to the distillery. They could. Good for them. They sold to their friends. I'm not mad about it. Oh, it's so good. If you haven't had a chance to try the double oaked, I implore you to try it if you can find it. Get yourself an ounce or two, at the very least. It is sticky sweet. Beautiful. I mean, I get a lot of butterscotch and toffee. Honey, tons of vanilla, fresh vanilla, like vanilla beans scraped out of a pod. D. Brad said, don't forget to spit that out. Yeah, that's a rule that's hard to keep for some of this stuff. The regular double oaked is good, Trevor. You're totally right. Don't get me wrong. But the double oaked just took it to the next level. It's just syrupy. It smells like syrup, and not like any particular, not really maple syrup, not really like fake maple like Miss Buttersworth or anything. It's just got this. Oh, I get this chocolate in it, like this brownie note. It's just all of the beautiful, sweet aromatics in one shot. It's interesting that I picked this because typically I like a more fruity floral profile. But God, the sweetness on this is just wonderfully overwhelming in the best way possible. It's like a big hug. This is like being hugged. Oh, yeah. Sweet maltiness. That nice chocolate mid-palate. Slowly disappears. Hint of tobacco. Subtle, soft, slightly nutty finish with the walnuts. A little bit of pecan. Long finish on this too. It's soft, subtle, but it's long. And just a touch of a toasted oak. God, that's so good. Mike said my Friday night Weller SR and my mixer OGD.
Oh my God,
114.
Drama Queen.
Yolanda left our dog on the couch and now it's barking.
She was asleep.
She was scared. We got people leaving. Everybody's leaving. Run away.
Maybe the doggo will bring it back. There she is.
Yeah. For the 8 of you who have remained, let's put her on the table.
I'm sure this is going to go well. It's the last table.
Say hello. She doesn't want anything to do with you.
There's nothing interesting there. She just thinks it's a computer.
But you don't see it yourself? Look at yourself. Look at yourself. Look at your choices. Oh, good question, D. Brown. Did you try Woodford 2020 Batch Proof? I have not tried that yet. I really want to try it. James Whelan. Egg sandwich with cheese and peanut butter. I am in. I don't think I want that from a whiskey, my man, Trevor. That's rough. Everybody came back on when I put the dog up on the screen.
See?
It's a real winner.
They were just waiting on you to show the real goods, the real star of the channel.
Gotta show them the goods. She's licking my feet. Okay, she left. The oakiness on that, it's a confusing oakiness on the double oaked. It's super sweet and syrupy and just, yeah, Mike, the whiskey mascot. That's right, Mike. She's the whiskey mascot.
She likes the smell of whiskey.
She does, yeah. She likes the smell of whiskey. She'll nip at it once or twice. She won't keep drinking it, but
she knows better.
She knows better. Well, I think she tasted the burn once or twice, but Josh says double oaked is phenomenal. Absolutely, my man. Absolutely. Coming up on an hour 30, just past it, rather. Yolanda's giving me the side eye.
I'm just looking at you.
Going, hurry up, drunkie. Let's get this shit done.
I said nothing of the sort.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later, Nate.
Did you just give Nate the head nod?
Oh, it's so good. Guys, I'm spent. It's been a long day. Thank you all so much for joining me. If you're a member of the Patreon, live stream tomorrow. If you're not a member of the Patreon, tonight is the perfect time to join, because if you get in for September, then you're going to have extra chances to win a very special bottle coming up in the very near future. I've got some really cool Patreon benefits. I'm giving samples away just as part of the benefit package. Yeah, let's set up the Patreon. We'll make it happen, Nate. There's some really cool stuff coming. I'm going to be giving away samples. We're going to do a tasting video on some sort of live chat. It'll be a good time. Cheers, D. Brown. I'll message you, Nate, for sure. Ooh, Mike said double oak was blown away on side-by-side with Maker's 46. If you get a double, man, I'd love to see what your thoughts are, Mike, on it. Trevor knows what's up. I'm just reading through the comments backwards. But yeah, I'm going to do this great sampling video. We'll get together on a live chat. It'll be a good time. I've got a bottle that you have an opportunity to buy. And by buy, I mean you get it for free, essentially. The details to that are explained on my Patreon, but essentially you can get it for free. And, you get early access to content. I'm going to be making merch soon. You'll be the first one to know about that, first one to get that. It's a good time. It's a good time, guys. Not going to make this into a commercial. Just want to let you guys know that now is the time to join for sure. Today or tomorrow, get on it, because if you get in for September, that means you're paid up for September, which means you get those entries for those really cool benefits that are coming up very, very soon. So thank you all so much for joining tonight. I appreciate every one of you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being engaged with the chat. Big shout out to my partner Yolanda for being my muse. Big shout out to my doggo Oreo for being an annoying pain in the ass. Cheers.